Good evening. It is Monday, June 14th. This is Legit Fantasy Basketball. I am broadcasting live out of a undisclosed bar restaurant in South Philly. Had to make a trip down here, make a few bets, check in on a few, let's just call them business ventures. So if you hear any background noise, so it's all above board, just hanging out in the back room. Speaking of gentlemen that like to hang out in the back room, we're going to introduce Coach TJ. Coach, how you doing today?
Awesome. Listen, the shadier the room, the better the business.
Exactly. I got a hat. I got a hat hanging on the wall. I mean, how much shadier does it get?
You got to have a speakeasy hat in the background if you're in the back room. That's how people know you mean business. You're not these jokers, you know?
Yeah, and if you can see the windows, you could probably guess we're a little bit below ground here too. So I don't know how I can make it any shadier. Speaking of not being able to make it any shadier, we're going to introduce King Mike L. King, how's it going today?
What's going on, guys? I'm having a hard time. I'm having a very hard time today, Kev.
Uh-oh.
Look, first of all, my hair, I dyed it blonde, then black. Now it's turning light brown.
Oh, you stripped it.
I don't know what to do, Kev. But listen, I've been in this town my whole life. I've run the summer basketball leagues. And you'd think that, like, if people saw me, they'd be like, hey, there goes Mike, the kid from that's the guy that's from the town, the basketball player. But they don't, Kev. Now, I was in a band, Kev, for over 10 years. 3 albums. You'd think they would say, hey, there goes Mike, the guy from State Corruption. But, Kev, they don't. And then they can even say, hey, there goes Mike. He's the guy with the twins, the boy and the girl. They're both going to be seniors next year at high school. But they don't say anything like that, Kev. But you screw one fucking dog. Forget about it.
So I'm guessing your trip to the feast yesterday didn't go very well, did it?
No, I don't like the names you'll call me, Kev. That's so stupid.
Yeah. Oh. All right.
All right. I need all day for that. That's so fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Again, you usually leave me with no way to transition to anything, so it's like these awkward. It's like trying to shift a car when you're first learning how to drive a standard. It's just banging through the gears. So we're gonna try to get out of first. We're gonna hit the 4 playoff series tonight. Talk about a couple of sort of general things going on in the NBA. But first we'll hit the Philly-Atlanta series. Now, Philly's up 2-1. They play tonight. They play at, I think, tip is 7:38. So we want to talk about that one in case anyone wants to get a bet down. And so first, in recapping it, the last time we did a show, it was, I believe, 1-1. And now, since then, Philly handled Atlanta pretty good. They beat them by 16 in Atlanta, 127-111. And I confirm one thing. Ben Simmons watches the show. I can confirm that because Coach TJ, Brother Ray, laid it in pretty good on him. He came out with a very, very, very good game, heavily involved in the offense. He's doing a good job, as good a job as you can, shutting Trae Young down. I think Bogdanovic looked pretty good, and I love watching Embiid school Capella. It's really cool to watch because Capella's getting like a master class on what a really good, talented offensive center can do. But King, I want to start with you. First question: could Trae Young be a puckwudgie?
No, because we all see him. But he does fit the build. He does fit the build. Kev, the best thing about this matchup, right, was that I know that Coach TJ read an article or saw a video that I saw because it was on one of the social medias, but it was Colin Hurd, and I'm not a big fan of his. Yeah. But TJ, you heard this, right? He called Ben Simmons the cool guy.
Yeah.
Like he's the cool guy of the team. In other words, like he can't be bothered to change his game or to get better free throws or whatever. He's cool. And they compared him to Jay Cutler, which was pretty damn spot on in a weird sort of way. If you're doing with the way he looks when he's playing. Now, I don't know if Ben Simmons really doesn't care. Like, if he doesn't want to get better, he's just not one of those guys. But I hope he is because Embiid looks like he's just going to get hurt. I just keep waiting for the game where he gets hurt and he's done. And I'm being serious with this. The guy just seems to get hurt a lot. And big guys who get hurt a lot, it's just going to spiral. So I'm going to throw it to the coach and ask, is Ben Simmons the kind of guy moving forward that you're going to want in the organization that's going to grow and learn how to hit an open jumper, learn how to hit a free throw?
Well, two things. First of all, I'm watching that clip from Coward, and since I'm a Bears fan and a Sixers fan, which is kind of a odd mix, I felt like he took 2 shots at me like right in a row. Like I took one to the gut, and then I was like, "Oh, that sucks, man," because Ben Simmons is that. And then he reminded me that Jay Cutler existed, and then that was like taking one to the chin. So, thank you, Colin. I don't care if he ever learns how to shoot a jump shot. I have no interest in Ben Simmons learning how to take a jump shot. It doesn't bother me that he can't shoot. It doesn't affect how I feel about him as a player. I don't think it's an important skill for him to have. I wish he could do it. Of course, I wish he could do everything, right? I wish he shot like Steph. That would be ideal, right? But I don't think that's a knock on his game that bothers me. What bothers me is he can do what he does. In the third quarter the other night, he was the best player on the floor, and be damned. He was unstoppable. He gets to the rim so fast. When he gets an outlet pass, he's 4 dribbles to the paint. He's blazing fast. I just wish he would do that more, because he can go a whole game being the cool guy and not taking one bleeping shot. Like, I never saw a guy play that many minutes and just refuse to score. He can score. Maybe he's scared to get fouled. I don't know. As far as is it someone to build around, I have a feeling Ben Simmons is going to be somewhere else real soon. And I want them to win the championship. They're my favorite team. I like Ben Simmons. I'm probably the only person left on earth that defends him me and Doc Rivers that defend him for not being able to shoot. But at some point they're going to go in another direction. I don't think he's fit for the town. He would be a great fit in certain other places. Golden State comes to mind right away, where he would be able to just run with shooters. But I don't care if he ever learns how to shoot. I think it's overrated for a 7-footer to know how to take a jump shot.
I just think one of your point guard has to be able to hit that open shot. That's all. Like, if he's going to play the 1, or if he's going to play in that, you're going to take up space on the floor playing a guard position. You got to be able to hit like an open jumper. And the thing that bothers me is that he doesn't seem to be practicing on his free throws. He doesn't seem to be practicing on his jump.
That's legitimate. To me, that's more concerning than being able to take a jump shot. There's a lot of point guards that can't shoot. Rondo can't shoot. Beverly can't shoot. Just because a guy will take shots, I'm happy with Simmons going 0 for 0 from 3 rather than going 1 for 7 every effing night. To me, that doesn't tickle my panties when a guy can't make a shot but he thinks he can. But the free throw thing is just a matter of getting good at free throws. I feel like anybody can get good at free throws. Like my wife. If I put my wife in the gym who shoots a chest pass, I can make her good at free throws in enough time. And for this guy to not do that, that definitely speaks to his work ethic before anything else. And that's a fair criticism, absolutely. And it's going to cost him a game. It's going to cost him a game for sure.
And the point guards you just mentioned, right, were point guards that weren't really like the stars. In other words, he's one of the main 2 on this team. That's the problem I have, I guess, is that he's supposed to be that second star. And I love Ben Simmons. I know it doesn't sound like I do, but I've had him on my fantasy team forever because I've seen games where he takes control and it's like no one can stop him if he gets like angry for some reason.
Do you know what the problem is? He's only the star on the team because he was drafted first overall. If you took him out of that context and just said he's a role player, because he is a role player, he's not a superstar. It annoys the shit out of me. They keep putting him on all-star teams. Now, defensively, he's probably the best defender in the league on the perimeter, so that does matter. But to me, in this league, offense is where it's at. It's legitimate criticism. I get it, but I think you can win a championship with him as a starter. No question about it. No question about it.
I know. I would love to see the Sixers become a team that can challenge these other teams, but it just seems that they got an injury-prone center and then a point guard who doesn't want to shoot or take free throws. That's like one of those movies like Major League or like The Little Giants. Where you have a point guard who can't shoot free throws, a center who can't dribble or whatever. It's like he can. I'm just saying, like the oddities. So, I mean, where does that? They're gonna get by the Hawks just by Embiid. It's going to hurt him, I think, though. It has to hurt them at some point. I don't know. But, sorry, Kev, I've been disillusioned because of him, Ben Simmons. Like, I thought he really was going to come out and show people in this playoffs. So kind of
and that's
on notice, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, it almost seems like some players just don't have that kind of killer instinct. Like they're not having killer instinct, that super competitive instinct. Like maybe he's just never going to be the kind of guy that wants to dominate, 80 nights a year. Well, 80 nights a year plus the playoffs, and he's always going to be. I wish I could get that game out of Ben Simmons consistently. Maybe that's just who he is. I mean, that's not cool either. That's just not having the fire.
I think it's definitely who he is, and it doesn't help the kid that his comps coming out of LSU were LeBron. Like that was his comp on NBADraft.com, and it's like, guys, that's crazy. I just wish, especially on the games when Embiid doesn't play, he would be more aggressive on offense. I do, but he can be a starter on a championship team, no question about it. And we'll get into the other series or whatever. I feel like Atlanta, they're going to dispose of Atlanta. They should win tonight and put him to rest. But he's gonna have to guard somebody in the next series, and if he puts the clamps on somebody that's a Kevin Durant type, then it's worth it for him not to score if you can neutralize the best perimeter player in the game right now. So we'll see what happens.
But I personally, I guess I guess as sports fans we take it and we almost put it on ourselves, because the one thing I get disgusted with is players that don't seem to be trying to get better, like guys that seem to be coasting on how good their talent has always been, size compared to everything. And it's like, you don't have to be Kobe Bryant, you know what I mean? And like 4 a.m. shooting free throws. But like, if I was Ben Simmons, I would practice all my shizzle, because he can do a lot of things, and he would be great. Great.
Mike, there's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that had that reputation. Like Bird used to say that about McHale. Kobe used to say it about Shaq. I mean, there's a lot of guys, physically gifted guys, that are in the NBA Hall of Fame that even as a fan, you still feel like, well, there was more for them to get, and they just didn't get to it, and it was great enough. So I don't know. I'm not saying Ben Simmons is going to the Hall of Fame, but, a lot of guys in the NBA, it's just kind of along for the ride, and that's what makes me appreciate guys more that aren't. That's why we like Giannis, and that's why we like Durant. It's because these guys are freaks. But you got a lot of guys in that league that are like, yeah, man, I'm 7 feet fast, and I'm going to play. I'm going to make this money, and we'll see what happens after that.
All right, but they usually do forwards or centers, right? They're usually big freaks of nature that rely on the fact they're so big, right? Shaq relied on the fact he was monstrous for years. He wasn't practicing towards the end. I mean, and like the bigger guys can do that. But when you're the point guard, like that's like
maybe that's the problem.
Hit down a free throw as a point guard. You got to hit a free throw, so practice, and he's not practicing like you said. So it's like, come on, man.
But if I told you he was a power forward, would it change the analysis? Because he's 7 feet.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
On the floor.
He's really not a point guard. He freaking dribbles the ball up because he's fast as shit. But when he gets the ball, he's generally getting it in the block. Like he's running, he's posting. He's not out here doing Durant shit.
I know, but there's big guys, and then there's him at the point. He's technically, I know what you're saying, but he's technically, yeah, you get me? He's playing the point guard position. Yeah. So he's assuming the role of a guard. He's taking up a spot of a guy. Usually, in my head, I think guard, he could at least hit an open jumper. He's good at free throws. That's what I'm thinking when guards. You tell me centers, forwards, I can say, all right, they miss free throws.
This might be insignificant, but it might not be. So I like to play NBA 2K, like to play 2 hours a week, right? I enjoy the game. When I play the game, I put Simmons at the 4 and Curry at the 1, because the team just it's just that's how the game is. So I go Curry at the 1, Green, Harris, Simmons at the 4, because in order for the game to work, that's kind of how they have to play. And I guess in my head, that's how I look at the team. Like Simmons he brings the ball up the majority of the time, but so does Giannis. So does Jokic. You know what I'm saying? Like Jokic brings the ball up all night last night. The guys bring.
All right, but they play like a big position. There's 2 other guards on the floor. That's what I'm saying.
So, Coach,
I don't know. Soon, maybe.
If it's a 2-point game and there's 55 seconds left, is Ben Simmons bringing the ball up the court?
No, I don't think he can.
Not touching it.
No, I don't think he can give him the ball. I think the only way he gets the ball in that situation is if there's a rebound and we're going to get out and run in transition. But if it's on a baseline out of bounds and it's off a timeout, say after a commercial break, and the Sixers are inbounding the ball with a minute left, no, I think Curry's bringing the ball to the floor. I think Curry or Milton or anybody, pretty much freaking anybody outside of
Anyway,
Dwight
but
Howard
him.
and Ben Simmons are
Yeah.
bringing the ball up the floor. Yeah, I feel like he'll get a touch, but I don't feel like he's the guy to bring it up in that situation because they can sag too far off him, and basically he can't make a bleeping free throw.
Yep, exactly. All right, so yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the switch flips and he decides, you know what, I want to be an 80% free throw shooter. I want to at least start hitting some jumpers because it would change his entire game. Would be He'd be like in the stratosphere. He'd be unbelievable.
Wait,
And
one
I
last
was on this bandwagon earlier. What if you just take 3 jump shots a half?
Yeah.
Like there's enough possessions in an NBA game. Just take 3 jump shots in a half and see how it is when you go 1 for 6, and then they'll tell you to stop shooting.
Let me end with this on Ben Simmons though. When I watch the way he shoots and his shooting technique and his free throw technique, it makes me think that he hasn't practiced since like high school. That's what bothers me even more is that I can see all the hiccups and glitches in his throw. Everybody probably can, but he hasn't changed it. And that bad habit didn't start recently. Like so, he's had that, and he never changed that. You can change a free throw, you know that, right? It's just a carnival trick, a free throw. If you get it down right, it's all the same thing. So he could easily change it by now.
You think some of that has to do with the fact that he was like the #1 ranked middle schooler, and everyone's been kissing his ass since he like hit his.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like no coach ever wanted to bring him in the locker room and being like, dude, you're doing this wrong. Because otherwise he's going to go to the next team where the coach kisses his ass, and that's why you never learned how to take a free throw. I definitely think that's part of it. I do.
Does he hold on to it 2 hands too long, you think? Like the guy hand doesn't let go?
At first he was talking about becoming a right-handed free throw shooter. Like that's when it's just a freaking mental case. Now you don't even know what hand you shoot with. I mean, Jesus.
I just see him, he's one of those 2-handed guys. That you can't throw a ball with 2 hands, man. You can't guide it. Good.
All right, so we got to move off of Ben Simmons. Just interest of time here, but I do want to get your thoughts. The game tonight: Philly -3, over/unders 225. Interest of full disclosure, I bet Philly again -3, and I bet Philly team total over 113.5. Those are the 2 things I have down. What do you guys got anything going tonight, or thoughts on the game?
One thing: if the Hawks are going to win another game like I thought they would, it would have to be tonight. If they lose tonight, I think they're done. So I think if they're going to be an upset, it's going to happen tonight.
Yeah, Kev, your bet is solid. Yeah, I would have given 6. I feel like this is the writing's on the wall for this bad boy right here. The writing is on the wall. I mean, he always got the Embiid factor. Is he going to, twist his ankle doing something dumb? But everybody healthy. We play the game tonight. It's a 10-point game by halftime. We don't even look back.
Yeah, and I think Atlanta's just overmatched. I mean, John Collins has like a great game, and then he's like then you don't see him in the box score at all for the next game, and they just don't have enough yet. So fun team to watch, but I think we're by the time we talk again, they'll probably be out, in my opinion.
I'm saying upset alert.
What?
I'm telling
upset
you,
alert
tonight. Yeah, there is.
I was gonna put you on the spot a little bit, but you copped to it already because TJ Ray and I were all thinking Atlanta doesn't win another game. You thought they'd be a little more competitive. So tonight
they'll win another one. Yeah, and that's why I feel they're going to win tonight. And you know what? I know you guys don't believe in conspiracies in the NBA like I do, or in pro sports like I do, but it would be nice if it went another game as far as for commercials and whatnot. So I don't know. In a weird way, I see this as a game where Philly doesn't. I don't know. They don't try to close it out. This has been the one the Hawks maybe sneak out of there, Kev. So I would watch it at halftime, honestly. And if it's really close at half, then I would be worried. But if the coach is right and they get a nice lead, you're good. But I would consider switching it if it's a close game, Kev. I'm being serious.
No, I'll definitely going to watch it. All right, so moving over to the one of the series in the West. Phoenix swept Denver. Series was interesting to watch because it really showed just how strong a team Phoenix is, and they were like perfectly matched to beat Denver. They did everything Portland couldn't do. It's kind of interesting to think. Portland has Dame and McCollum, and they had Nurkic. Phoenix has Paul and Booker and Ayton, and they're not exactly comparable, but it really shows me how bad a shape Portland is in and how really strong Phoenix is. But before we talk about what happened last night, Jokic's game 3, unbelievable. It was like 34 points, 20 rebounds, 11 assists. Phenomenal game. That's probably the best thing you could ever expect out of him. and they still lost pretty handedly. That game wasn't even a contest towards the end. So Denver could completely overmatch. Chris Paul looked unbelievable, 37 points last night. Now we got to talk about the Jokic ejection, because I don't think that was justified. That should not have been a flagrant 2. Everyone wants to say on the MVP. Okay, sure, you can factor that in, but that shouldn't have been a flagrant 2 on anybody. But what do you guys think about that series? Maybe start on Denver because they're out, and then pivot to Phoenix. Because the one question I have is, what do we really learn about Phoenix? It was a very convincing win, but Denver's a flawed team. So, Coach, why don't we start with you?
Well, let's start with the ejection, right? That's the story. That's poor officiating. It really is poor officiating. It's a frustration foul. That's what it is. It was, to me, I don't even think it should have got a tech. When they went to review it, I'm like, why even bother? Don't even review the nonsense. Never mind an ejection of the MVP. It's bad. People want to see the best players play. I know what the rules are. You know how many rules are broken on every effing play if we want to pull out the rule book and start to hyper analyze every single time down the floor. But we're going to take the best player out of the game in a playoff series for that. He didn't throw a punch. He didn't kick the guy in the groin. He swung down hard to the ball. So I thought that was terrible. As far as Denver goes, they need Murray back. They're okay. They're going to be a good team as long as Jokic's there. They're going to build around him, and I think the future is pretty good for that team. The Western Conference is always going to be tough. They're always going to find themselves in these kind of series. I think Barton probably cost him a seed by missing a lot of games. He probably cost him a seed. Maybe things are a little bit different. But overall, this was not a good showing against Phoenix. They did not for 1 minute look like they were in the same class as Phoenix, and that's how you get swept. I'm surprised it was a sweep, to be honest with you. I took Phoenix in the series. No way did I think they wouldn't be able to win one game at home. No, that's crazy. That's on them.
Hey, so I've been thinking all day long about how to give my take on this ejection, because I want to just flat out say what I think, but I don't want to get myself completely in trouble. But here's what I thought. Right, I thought I'm watching the playoffs, and this on in June of 2021. And I saw the big white center for the Nuggets commit a foul. And I feel like they stopped any sort of escalation. The referee made a judgment call based on society and where we are socially. And I'm not joking. Honestly, if that was a non-Caucasian basketball player, I don't think they would have been as quick to have thrown him out. I think the tensions and the stuff that's going on right now push the hand of the ref to give a flagrant 2 to the big white center who didn't deserve flagrant 2. I'm trying to dance around this issue, but you know what I'm trying to say. I feel like things from the outside have been seeping into the NBA and causing decisions.
So if you think Ayton made that same play, he doesn't get ejected.
Exactly.
I 100% agree with you. I 200% agree with you. That if Ayton makes that same play, he does not get ejected.
It didn't bother me all day. I didn't know how to say it, but it's that's how I felt when I saw it, because it was you look around, people looking around that wasn't a really big. Then it's I don't know. That's precedent. Set the tone. Example.
And the more you watch the replays, the more ridiculous the flagrant 2 call looks. And the refs had the opportunity. They didn't have to call it real time. They watched the replays and they still called it that way. And I thought that was completely ludicrous.
They've got to know he's the MVP, right? These guys don't live in a bubble. They have to know that this is the best player on the team, and you're going to eject him in a playoff game for that?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and
chirping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was tension when that happened. That was not a big deal, but there was da-da-da-da-da-da, and the refs just caved.
Well, the weird thing about that is if you look on Twitter and everything when it happened, a lot of NBA players were disgusted by it. Just kind of tweeting I couldn't believe that he was thrown out. So I don't know if what you're saying, the angle is correct because of tension in the building, but I think I haven't seen anyone besides some New Orleans Saints player who's from Denver, agree with the decision. Well, like it's kind of universally been panned by NBA players and pro athletes and stuff. So I hope you're wrong, but you're probably more right than I want to admit.
And that's going to be really bad if I'm right on this one, because it's just the way I feel after watching that. Like, if it's really saturated that far in this whole, like, the paranoia of it, and that's an issue. That's like fixing the games in a weird sort of way. Like, you can't let outside things affect a basketball game. It's a game. Everybody you just see as a jersey, you know what I mean? And let them play. But, like, nah, that rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm definitely not one of those people that's, like, always looking for shit like that. It's just that's what that seemed like.
Yeah. It wasn't really evident on this play, but the thing that is killing me with the playoffs is all the flopping and the exaggerating. It looks like you're watching Premier League soccer when now, like, if you're trying to draw a charge, you basically fall over as soon as someone touches you and you roll around on the ground. Like we talked about a little bit last time, but like Payne was like holding his face like he just got punched, like Jokic punched him in the face, and then he got up and walked off, and then Jokic apologized to him before he left. It's like the culture of this faking injury stuff. I don't know when it became cool to not be tough, to be more of a trickster and scam and try to get a foul and an extra call than it was to be a tough guy. Like, can you imagine like Rodman or Mahorn or Bird or McHale or Worthy or Kareem, like just flopping like that every single time someone bumps into you, that you flop now, and it's validated and rewarded because they usually get the call. It's absolute insanity. And the stupid thing where you fake a three and kick your legs out and that gets called a foul, like, how is that a foul? It makes the game less watchable, especially to a casual fan. I'm sorry, I don't get it.
I mean, James Harden's got a whole bag of tricks. He locks guys' arms when he drives to the hole. He'll put his arms around and hold them. But, like, Kareem kind of did that. Kareem used to make a face after. Kareem never committed a foul.
I know, yeah.
Like, they blow on Kareem every foul. Like what?
Duncan, too.
Rob me.
Duncan somehow played 20 years in the NBA, never fouled anyone.
Never. Yeah,
Amazing.
that I can't stand either. Everyone chirps at the refs. Everyone. Like, if I were a referee, I'd shut the whole thing down. As soon as you talk to me, Tech, that's it. Like, that's it. That's how it works. I don't want to hear it. I don't care.
So, guys, and I'm being serious about this. If that's really the case, like, and it's how I feel. Like, in other words, they get enough chirping going on, and like, there's obviously unrest in the NBA right now within the playoff teams, like the stuff that's been going on. The Nets. So, like, it's on everyone's mind, and it's a big thing. And I really just feel like that, like, I don't know. He should have never got a flagrant 2. So I was just, like, thinking, why did he get a flagrant 2? Well, I'm thinking, all right, the ref was probably trying to, like, slow the game down, or something was going on where, like, it was going out of control, right? That's the only reason I can think that he did it, because they had time to think about it. So it's like
Booker ran up on him.
Yeah.
Here's how you handle that. You call it a flagrant 1. The next time you hear two people talking to each other, you bang them both with a tech and tell everybody to chill out. That's how you do it. You don't take the most valuable player and kick him out of the game. I've done enough youth leagues to know how to handle that situation where I'm not going to rip some the team's best player out of the game. I'll tee up both coaches and make them sit down. I'll do something. I'll tee up a parent before I'll do that. But to take Jokic right out of the game, it's an atrocity. It really is. It was an atrocity, embarrassing by the end. Those are professional officials too. I mean, these guys, these NBA officials that have been doing these playoff games, these are good crews, and that was very, very disappointing.
Want to hear something funny really quick? So it's a championship game, one of the championship games that my son's in, and we don't have any refs that usually do our games. We had to get a ref from, like, I never seen him before. So he gave my son 4 fouls by halftime, right? So the ref who usually does the games comes at halftime to help do the second half. And he immediately said to Mike, and my son, if you ever met my son, he's very polite, very quiet. He's not like me at all. So he was like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, how you doing in the game? He's like, and he didn't say anything. I'm like, he's got 4 fouls. And the ref was like, what? I'm like, yeah. He goes, in the championship game? I go, yeah. He goes to the other ref. I go over with him. He goes, look, Mike's a really good kid. He's been playing his whole life. Let's try not to get him another foul and get him out of the championship game and ruin the championship game for him unless he commits something really bad. Then he looks at my son. He goes, you can't hit anybody. Don't look. Mike goes, I won't. So there was almost like a deal maybe between the refs.
Yeah.
Play, let the kid play. If he doesn't really commit a foul, we'll call it. But if it's a little ticky-tack, we want to let the kid play. That's a small level, Kevin.
The good officials in high school, like I've had guys run by me. Now I'm always looking for a foul call when my team's on offense, right? I've had officials come by me and be like, I'm not giving him his third on that bullshit. Like, in other words, if the other team's best player, South Kingston had a kid. He's playing at D2 school, whatever. He's a scholarship player, right? Big kid, all state. And he picked up. It should have been his third foul in the first half. And ref come by. I'm not giving him his third on that bullshit. And you know what? I can respect that because you're not going to do it to my guy either. And that's how. This is the NBA playoffs.
Yep, that's my point of all this, right? So it's like he had to be doing it for some reason, and the only reason I can think of is he didn't want to stop. He was stopping like a full scale, like
Yeah, you're probably right. The more I think about it, because that's got a Stephen A. Smith hot take written all over it. Jokic slam pain. Should have been a flagrant 2. On and on and on. All right. So just the interest of time, and I think Brother Ray is lurking about, but I don't see his video, so we'll give him a couple of seconds to situate himself. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the next series. That's Utah and the Clippers. They're playing tonight also. Last time we talked, I told you guys I was high on Utah. I think Mike, Mike, you disagreed. Utah's up 2-1. They played on Thursday after the show.
Oh, I like you.
What?
I like.
I said you. I'm sorry. I said I'm betting the Clippers for the series. So you were on Utah. I was on Clippers. But they played on Thursday night. Utah won 117-111. Then they played again on I believe Saturday. Utah 106. Clippers 132. So Clippers finally got it together. One of the things that just jumps out off the page when you look at this series, Donovan Mitchell, absolute superstar. This is like kind of his coming out party. Hopefully, he keeps that up. Other things that are interesting with Utah, we've talked about it all season, almost like interchangeable parts. You got no Conley, but Clarkson's averaging almost 19. Ingles is averaging 15.
No. We're not doing that. We are not doing Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson is atrocious at basketball. Why is this guy, again, the other night, he takes 16 shots. Again, who gave this guy the green light? Like,
did all year.
His plus minus is minus 24 the other night. If you want to say one reason why they lost the bleeping game, it's because Jordan Clarkson, whenever he's in the game, Utah gets steamrolled. I can't stand Jordan Clarkson. He's got to be the most overrated player in the whole damn playoffs. Hi, Ray. How you doing?
Hi, Ray.
I agree, but he's been shooting all year, Jordan Clarkson.
I know.
He's a free agency that's scoring like 24 points a game, but you don't want to sign him with your team because that's all he's going to do.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Oh, is it ridiculous?
Yeah, didn't he win 6th Man of the Year?
Well, him and Ingles won somehow. Both of them won 6th Man of the Year or some shit. I don't even know who got it. But Clarkson's having a bad playoff. He really is. And I forgot how much I disliked him because I didn't watch a lot of Utah basketball. I dislike Jordan Clarkson. Yes, he cannot come to Philly. I hope he goes to Boston.
Hey, Ray, really quick. We already went over the Sixers. What's your thoughts on the whole Ben Simmons not really trying, like the fact that he can't, there was a take on him on how he's not trying to improve himself, obviously, in the offseason by learning how to hit a jumper or a free throw. Where's your aggravation with that as a Sixer fan?
It's immense. My aggravation is immense. I mean, every time he goes to the free throw line, it's just we have to sit there and we have to endure it. I mean, he doesn't try. His game, I truly believe, is what it is. What you see is what you get. I don't see him getting any better in any of those categories. Hitting a jumper, hitting 2 free throws. I don't see it happening. I mean, don't get me wrong. A triple-double, that's great. You can get that. I mean, there's very few NBA players that can do what he can do. But when you're in a series and you're trying to win games and you can't hit free throws, and that is what irritates me. You look at a team like the Clippers, and I didn't know this. I was watching one of their games last week. They set a record, NBA record for free throw percentage in a season, 84-something%, which is amazing. That's what you need to win a series, because at the end of a game, that's how you win ball games. Instead of hack-a-ben, that's what we're seeing now. Hack-a-ben. At the end of every single game, they're putting him in his stripe, and he's still not hitting his free throws.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. All right. Sorry, Kev. Back to the Denver and Phoenix.
No, yeah, no. Clippers in Utah. So the only other thing I wanted to mention is Kawhi and Paul George. They're both averaging 26 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, almost exactly the same stat lines. And I think they got. I still think Clippers can pull this off. I don't know why. That's the thing that's killing me because I think they're a dysfunctional team. I don't think Tyronn Lue is an amazing coach. At least he didn't play Boogie last game, which is a plus. But I need a little more insight on Utah versus the Clippers, especially they're playing tonight. It's a 10 o'clock game. Utah's +5 at the Clippers. So the Clippers are a 5-point favorite at home against Utah. So I guess, Brother Ray, since we just got you in here. What are your thoughts on that series? Am I completely insane for thinking the Clippers can still pull this thing off?
If Paul George plays like he played in the last game, then the Clippers absolutely do have a shot. But before that, he was not. He was not stepping up. It's a weird dynamic because, I remember in the first game, the Clippers kept saying all they can do is shoot threes. They were going in the huddle saying all they can do is shoot threes, and they're basically right. I just think that Gobert gives them something down low that the Clippers right now they just can't find an answer for. But George is the key. If George plays like he played the other night, because Kawhi's automatic. He's going to give you what he gives you, 28, 30 points a game, all the other numbers. George really needs to step up because it's the veterans that would win, in my opinion, would win the series for the Clippers. Because, let's face it, Donovan Mitchell's a special player, but he's new to the stance. He's a young kid, so I like the experience with the Clippers, and I think that could make a difference.
Is there a reason we're getting so much a raised head tonight?
So trying something new.
He's like,
yeah. We found the viewership goes up. The higher, the more. It's almost directly proportional to how much of the top of Ray's head we show. Yeah. All right, Coach. So what do you think of this series? We've been panning Utah all season. We love them. We hate them. We love them. We don't respect them. We try to respect them. We still can't. Where do you see this series going?
I think Utah's going to win the series, and it's justice too. It would be justice for Utah and Phoenix. They've been the two best teams all year. Every week we come on this show. Sometimes twice a week we comes on this show, and we talk about every team in the NBA outside of Utah and Phoenix who have had the best record from the start in the West. I'm sure it's not what Adam Silver wants to see on the TV. Those two markets, and frankly, I don't give a damn what Adam Silver wants. So, I think they're still going to win the series. The Clippers keep coming at you though. They've been down. They're a fighting, scrappy bunch. I got to say. Like they don't put their tail between their legs. I feel like it's going to go 6 or 7 games, but in the end of the day, it's hard for me to go against Utah. And then Utah Phoenix would create a really interesting matchup. But Paul George. I don't trust Paul George. I really don't. He played good the other night to get the win. I don't trust him to play good 3 more times.
You don't believe in playoff fatigue? Come on.
No.
Anytime you give yourself a nickname, you got a problem. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
sorry, King, go ahead.
Ayton Gobert go at it. I really want to see that matchup, just to see those two go at it. Some old school basketball in the 5 spot. Two old school guys banging each other. Ayton, young kid, but he looks like he's 62. And Gobert, defensive player of the year yet again. That'll be a great matchup.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not really interested in seeing the two old school guys bang each other, but what I'm really interested in seeing, Kev, would be if the Nuggets did play the Clippers. If the Nuggets do get to play, the Suns, because the Nuggets will win this series.
Wait, stop for a second. Start over. I think you keep flipping Nuggets and Suns.
I'm doing Nuggets Clippers. I'm just telling you how when the Nuggets beat the Clippers, it'll be great to watch them play against the Suns. I'm trying to say is the Nuggets.
Jazz.
Nuggets are gone.
Fuck me, man. The Jazz.
When the Jazz beat the Clippers, it'll be really good to have them play the Suns.
All right. So for the record, because these teams aren't like the Knicks or Lakers or whatnot, or Celtics, I keep getting the Jazz and the Nuggets. I just confuse them in my head. You know what I mean? It's just, and it's literally because I don't talk about these teams enough. You know what I
See?
mean? Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Is somebody
You don't even-
jazzing your Nuggets? Kid?
Listen, Denver, here. The Utah Jazz, I'm sorry, the Utah Jazz will win tonight. They will beat the Clippers. They will finish this. The Clippers aren't quite, there's something wrong. There's just something wrong. And
Yeah.
one of it is, if you're dependent on Paul George, there's just something wrong, especially right now. But the Jazz have just been so good all year. It's like, Kev, it's like last game was the only game where it wasn't quite working for them. So I don't know. In my head, the Jazz, if they get to play the Suns, we're all in luck for a great series. And I guess if the Clippers take it to 7, then I don't know. Then maybe do I switch my opinion? Because go one game, I like in one game, that's the guy, right?
Yeah. So if it were to somehow go to 7, and I think I would be inclined to say I trust Kawhi in a game 7 more than Mitchell. Like you could see Kawhi pulling one out in a one-game situation, coming out and dropping 45. You know, if there's one concern I have about Utah is that they played really well without Mitchell for a really long time, and when he starts going solo, that doesn't really fit into what they're doing. So what I noticed in Game 3 was a lot more times when Mitchell has the ball and he's at the top and he's calling for a ball screen, and that's pretty much not the team they are anymore. You know, so if it's going to be ISO ball and he's going to take 25, 30 shots, as talented as he is, I don't think that's their best way to win. Because what do you want to do? You don't want to go mano with Kawhi. Like, if we're going to do my side, your side, then I'll take the Clipper side in that situation.
Yeah.
The beauty of the way Utah plays is the continuity and the way they share the basketball, almost like Phoenix, where Phoenix doesn't really give a shit who shoots. That the ball's just flying around until somebody gets an open look. So I'm looking for that tonight to see how much ISO ball, and maybe Snyder can get him to take a step back, you know?
You don't want a grinded out game with the Clippers. Like, you don't want that game 7 grinded out. They try to make it a half court game because that's where they can beat you. But I think the Jazz are just so much better than them, in my opinion, that their system is going to work out tonight.
And I think you guys hit it. I think that's probably why I think the Clippers can pull it off, because if the Jazz get away from that system, that style of play, the Clippers probably would beat them mano a mano, as TJ said. I guess I have a little more hope that they'll be able to turn it into, Mike, you keep saying styles win fights. If they can get the Jazz off their style, they have a chance. I think that's what it is. And the last thing I want to say is your riff back there where you kept confusing the Nuggets and the Suns and the Jazz and everything. That proved right there how little respect we have for those organizations. You can't even get their names straight. It's like this really pretty girl just wants you to respect her, and you don't even remember her name. You're like, Sally. That's exactly what it is. You proved it. You proved it more than anything we could talk about.
I don't know why we had to bring females into this. We're having a nice conversation about basketball. Can we please get back to that? Thank you.
All right. All right. Last thing, because we got to move along. We're actually behind pace. I don't know how that happened. Tonight, Utah +5 at the Clippers. Picks quickly. TJ, off top of your head.
+5, take them.
Bang.
King.
Take them.
Right.
Utah.
Yep. Everyone says Utah. That means the way this show works, all of us say one thing. I'm betting the Clippers.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. So moving on to the last series, and I kind of saved this one for last because there's so much drama, so much going on with it. It's Brooklyn, Milwaukee. It's 2 games each. Brooklyn blew them out of the gym the first 2 games. Go to Milwaukee, put up that clunker in Game 3. Everyone says, "Oh, that's a '90s game." That wasn't a '90s game. A '90s game would have been 20 less possessions. They would have grounded out and fought it out. They wouldn't have missed 70% of their shots. That's not a '90s game. It's a bad basketball game at really the same fast pace. No one can hit a shot. So don't call it a '90s game. Now, Giannis, and before I hit the injury stuff, Giannis frustrates the F out of me. He's 4 for 21 shooting 3-pointers in this series. That's literally lighting 21 possessions on fire for the Bucks. And he can't, like, what happens during the playoffs where why don't they get him the ball moving towards the basket? You get him the ball way out, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Now,
I don't understand.
but Kev, here's the argument I have about Ben Simmons all the time. Is it better that Ben Simmons never takes a jump shot, or Giannis takes 21 and only makes 4 of them? So to me, this is why I don't get on Simmons for not shooting, because I'd rather he go 0 for 0 than go 4 for 21. To me, 4 for 21 is might as well. And from 3, that's like 10 turnovers because you're not getting the damn rebounds. Those are long rebounds. So yeah, it's bad. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Don't do it.
Yeah, and I don't understand like how they fix that, because it almost seems like he thinks he needs to play a certain way instead of playing the way that he's effective, and it becomes worse in the playoffs. Like, why doesn't he's not Kevin Durant. No. You're not Kevin Durant. Like, you're amazing at the things you do, and you're going towards the basket, and you're doing all these freaky athletic things, and you're hitting 8-footers and you're dominating. But watching him drives me freaking crazy.
Kev, you just summed up basketball from now kids playing at like 8 years old all the way through college. They're all doing things that they think they're supposed to do instead of doing like you catch these big tall centers, right? They're like 6'5", and all the other kids are 6 feet tall. They come down on offense. What do? They go stand outside the 3-point line and wait for the out pass. It's like, just go down low and soften your man up. Oh, well, if I go to college, I'm not going to be this tall, so I got to play guard position. Yeah, I know. But if you want to win the States, go down low and post the kid up a couple times, right? Score 10 points that way, and then go shoot some threes. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like they all want to do this, Kev. They all want to shoot threes. Everything seems like it's predicated on, can you hit a three? Can you hit a three? Can you hit a three? And like he's saying, he's right. Some guys, they just shouldn't be shooting those friggin' shots. But no, they got to be all-star, superstars, so they all got to show that they can do everything now. They want to make sure other than Ben Simmons, that they can do everything.
It's infuriating. Let's go with Brother Ray. What do you think of the series? We're kind of hitting on Giannis, but what do you think of the series itself?
It's interesting because obviously Brooklyn came out really strong at the beginning of the series. I thought Milwaukee had a great shot just because of their top 3 was playing so well. Now you get a little adversity, and it's funny. You have this made-up team. You have these 3 overinflated egos that decided that they could play together and win a championship. And then you have adversity, and then you get punched in the mouth, and you have a couple of them dealing with injuries. I don't think they expected that. I think momentum's in favor. If those 2 guys don't play, I see Milwaukee winning that next game, and that could affect the whole series. So, I think right now they're in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
This should have been on Paranormal, Kev. This should have been on Paranormal. I'll tell you why. Because I've never seen another time in my life where so many people wish for something to happen to someone and then twisted his ankle.
It did.
Like, how so many people will it to happen? We're all sitting there going, oh, if he only twisted that one ankle that he wiped on please let that ankle twist. And then it did right in front of us, and I felt guilty. I'm not going to lie. I felt wrong for it. I wasn't happy. I was like, oh, what did I do to Kyrie? Like, I just broke his ankle. Like, I was waiting for it to happen. I saw it. I projected it. I Kanye Wested it. And then it happened.
Everyone in Boston lit a candle for that. Everyone in Boston lit a candle for that.
I know.
Yeah. Cleveland too. I was talking to one of the guys that works for me is from Cleveland. He lit a candle too. It's like you f over all the every city's effed over is lighting candles. But Coach, what are your thoughts on the series on how Milwaukee looks? Does Brooklyn have a shot without the two of the big 3?
Well, first of all, it's against my nature to root for players to get injured because I want to see the best players play. But this might – I can't think of another time where I'm like, good for you. Good. I hope it's
That's what I'm saying.
Like, really, there's not a lot of times. I can't think of another time because I know it's a guy's livelihood. I don't know the guy. He might be the nicest guy in the world. I don't know. He might do more for charity than anybody in the NBA for all I know. But when he went down, it's like, good, you bastard. Really. It's a weird series, and the Nets have a weird mix because guys are coming and going all the time. It's like they've been playing like this all season. It's going to be huge if Durant can drag this team to the finals without Harden and Kyrie. He joins a different tier, I think, in the all-time. Maybe he doesn't get looked at as such a party jumper anymore, I honestly don't know what's going to happen. If I'm here to give expert analysis on what's going to happen in this series, flip a coin. I'll call my kid down. He has as much a guess as I do. If all teams are healthy, I feel like Brooklyn's the better team. I still do. But Blake Griffin, they won one game because Blake went nuts. That's not going to happen again. That Blake Griffin doesn't look like he belongs in the supporting role to Durant. He's a shell. One thing about Milwaukee for the season, they've been healthy pretty much the entire time. They've been a group like from day one. I mean, you can say added PJ Tucker, but he's irrelevant. Milwaukee is just keeps going and going and going. So unless Harden comes back or Kyrie comes back, and I think Milwaukee might win the series.
Oh, which is crazy. I mean, I bet Milwaukee tomorrow night. I think it's Milwaukee minus 3.5 or something. But Kyrie and Harden are both out, so we'll take Durant dragging 4 guys, to across the finish line. But King, you were going to say something?
Yeah, unless Derek Coleman comes out of retirement, you're not going to see the Nets win this game without those 2 players. They're not, and it's going to be great because to see the Lakers and Nets both at home right now, and see these younger kids playing, it's like even as a Laker fan, man, I got to be honest, there's a warm feeling in my stomach of the idea of like the Nets being out of it and like being these 2 other teams we get to finally watch. That'll be a lot of fun, I think. Like get out the old wood. Like just clear them out. Clear them out. I don't want to see do you want to see the Nets? I don't want to see the Nets go further. Do you? Honestly, no.
We had said earlier when all these super teams were coming together. I
think you muted yourself.
You muted yourself. There you go.
So we had started to say earlier when all these teams were coming together at the trade deadline that we didn't want these super teams in the finals. Like we didn't want Brooklyn, LA. If we can get Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Utah, and Phoenix, that feels like justice to me.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like we can, at least for this season, we held off the changing tide of like grouping up with my buddies and going to make a team. Like I feel like we would have teams that were pretty much in place from the beginning, minus some little peripheral moves, and the 4 best teams that I feel like I would want to see. And as a bonus, the ratings will be absolutely atrocious, and we'll just blame it on the wokeness.
It's like we got rid of the player GMs, Kev.
Yeah,
exactly.
There'll be no player GMs in the tournament, and I think that'd be great.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about it from a 76ers perspective. But if Kyrie and Harden are out for like a week, and Brooklyn and Milwaukee can close this thing off, you guys just got a big early Christmas present. Because I think you can handle. I think Sixers can handle Milwaukee. I think it'll be. I think it'll be a good series.
What if the Nets win, Kev, but they still go into the Sixers series with injuries?
Yeah.
Now that's a present. Yeah. If they have 2 guys hurt out of the 3, they go play Philly.
Yeah.
And Ben Simmons doesn't have to hit those open shots.
Yep.
Yeah. Is Joe Harris guys still injured, by the way? Is Joe Harris? Because that's a big injury for them too. I mean, he's not one of the big 3, but he's a very good player off the bench for them. Is he going to miss
Harris?
Yeah.
No.
He played 38 minutes the other night. No.
Yeah, he's fine. I was thinking of somebody else. Yeah, he's fine. It's just the thing that's killing me, by the way, already people are talking about what does this mean for Durant's legacy? Like if he can get these 2 guys win 2 games without Harden and Kyrie, he's one thing. If he can't already, he's another. It's absolutely insane. Like leave the legacies out of it. It's an insane season with all the injuries and everything. Like just stop. Let people just watch and play and watch basketball.
I mean, is there anybody that really thinks in 10, 15 years, we're going to be talking about Durant's escapade in the 2nd round of the Eastern Conference playoffs? Like, it'd be one thing if he dragged them to the finals and won the championship and averaged 40. It would be a legacy bullet point. But on his Hall of Fame, resume is not going to say, oh, and by the way, one year he had an injured team and he won a 2nd round playoff series. Like, who the fuck cares? Yeah. Really. It has nothing to do with his legacy.
It's either full Dirk or go home. Like he either scores 40 and carries his team all the way to championship, which one guy can do, or he uses the excuse that, it was just him and he couldn't pull it off by himself, even though he's a superstar.
I would love to see him come out tomorrow night, drop 60, or do something historic.
And he could.
I felt like last night we were watching history when Chris Paul was going nuts. I felt like that was like one of the most beautiful games I ever saw by a point guard in my life. And I'm all about watching like cool stuff. Like, let's see that. as long as it's
Yeah.
not like Kyrie ever.
Yeah, and by the way, Chris Paul, I saw some stats somewhere which was awesome. Chris Paul hit 8 mid-range jumpers in a row to put the Nuggets away. Now in today's NBA, you're not supposed to shoot any mid-range jumpers ever because they're inefficient and they're a waste of a possession apparently, and not for Chris Paul. 16 points. And
Like Ray, do you think that like Daryl Morey Chris Paul would call and be like, "Hey, I want to come to Philly," and Morey's like, "Yeah, we don't do that here."
He would take him in a heartbeat.
You think so? You don't think he would say, "Listen, buddy, we don't take 15-foot jump shots on this team. We just don't do it."
No, we don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. They wouldn't know what to do in practice. They would.
He was at the 3-point line.
What's this?
That's awesome. All right, John. So we got about 4 minutes left. Just a couple of big just overarching things I wanted to bring up. Playoff injuries. A lot of guys on the injury report this playoff run. You got LeBron, you got AD, Kyrie, Harden, Embiid. He's not out, but he was hurt. DeAndre Hunter, Jaylen Brown, Westbrook was hurt for a little while. Beal. There's a big long list of there's about 19 players that of significance that missed time or were somewhat degraded during the playoff run, and people are saying it's not enough time from the bubble. This season should have an asterisk. All this stuff. Now, the only other thing I want to add is I'm an NFL fan. Players are hurt all the freaking time, so I'm kind of like, okay, but I guarantee. Obviously, it's a different game. There's only 5 players on the floor in the NBA. Your stars are your stars. They have a bigger impact. I get all that, but I didn't put it together as such a defining characteristic of these playoffs. So I'm kind of curious. Do you guys see it that way? Like, Coach, what do you think of all this? Is it
Well, here's what I think. I think what an injury is in 2021 NBA language is not an injury, like almost all the time. Like, I'm sure as many guys were banged up in the 80s when every player was playing 82 games and they were having playoff series that they weren't like whining, bitching, and taking a night off from. Like, these guys are not out with like broken, shattered tibulas and ripped up ACLs. These guys are out with like soreness and a dislocation popped back in, and it's like weak sauce injuries. So yes, I do think no one wants to see injuries, but I think the definition of what gets a night off in 2021 is a lot different than what gets a night off in the NFL playoffs, or the hockey playoffs that just finished, where after the playoffs you find out that this guy played with a collapsed lung. Like in the NBA, like what's hurt means I took a hard foul now that I need the rest of the effing game off, and it kind of bothers me in that sense. No, absolutely no asterisk. Absolutely no asterisk. This is what the NBA is going to be.
You kind of just nailed it right there. They shouldn't have an injury report, Kev. They should have a hurt report. Because are you injured or are you hurt? So they should now have an injury report for legitimate injuries, and then for all these guys that want to bitch, moan, and complain, they should have a hurt report. Because Kobe and Larry Bird, you could break their face, bust their ankle, break their hands. They're going to play. They're going to play if they can get on the floor. Larry's laying on his stomach like this because his back's spasming up, but he still wants to play. He breaks his face against Chuck Person. He comes out, still wants to play. Like, they take rest days. What do you mean they're not ready for this? They take rest days. There's such prima donnas in that sense. Look, every sport is injuries, but look, back in the day, you played through an injury. You played through an injury, and that's what people liked about you. Nowadays, if you got an injury, you shut it down because you don't want to look bad. It's
That's what I mean.
God, I don't look bad.
Because you got guys coming back from an injury in their first game back, they can play 38 minutes. You can't even tell they were hurt.
Yeah.
So you know what that tells me? It tells me you weren't freaking hurt.
Yeah.
Because if you're really hurt and you come back from an injury, you're like scared. Like,
Yep.
Don't tell me you're hurt. You come back in and you're freaking playing full court, man. Like, that's a bunch of crap. It's just a bunch of crap to me. Like Embiid's injury the other night. Embiid comes back, he's playing 40 minutes and he's dunking all over everybody. So how freaking hurt were you, buddy? Like, you weren't hurt.
No
Yeah,
way.
give me a
Hurt,
break.
not injured.
all right, like Brother Ray? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so last year, let me get this straight. They play in a bubble, basically, not even like a whole season. Okay, they play a couple of games in the bubble. LeBron wins a championship, but there's no asterisk next to that championship. So this year, he's out of the playoffs, and now we're talking about asterisks all of a sudden? now
because LeBron didn't.
What? Why? Could it be maybe because LeBron is out of the playoffs? Maybe it could be because Brooklyn doesn't look like a sure thing now?
Very good point. Very, very good point. All right. Last thing I'm going to mention, and King Mike, I'm probably going to mute your mic on this. The Portland Trailblazers coaching search. They brought in Mike D'Antoni. They're bringing in D'Antoni for an interview, and they are bringing in Becky Hammon for an interview. Don't say it. Don't do the rant you did last. That was freaking unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, in all seriousness, though, guys, we talked about it with Boston. Like, it is going to be a media circus. No matter what happens, Portland. If they don't hire, Portland can't win. I bet they go with D'Antoni. But I don't really understand. And number one, I don't think D'Antoni is going to solve their problems. I think D'Antoni is going to exacerbate their problems. All the things they do now, they're gonna like amplify it all. But bringing there is going to be a crazy media circus, and I'm just curious what your guys' opinions are with what Portland's doing. Is it media stunt? Are they you think they're really interested? And how do you compare D'Antoni and Hammond? Let's go with you, Coach.
Well, I said it last week. You can't interview Becky Hammon unless you're going to hire her. Because now you're opening yourself up. Even though D'Antoni has been an NBA coach, now it's going to be, here's the narrative. They're going to pick a white male retread coach that we all know can't win a championship because
never won anything.
And you set yourself, you'll walk right into the bleeping trap. And now you got to hire her, in my opinion, especially in Portland. I mean, that's barely America anymore over there. They're so woke, it's like in the fucking ocean. So they have to do it. And I don't think she'll do a bad job. And I think she has a resume, and we knew it was a matter of time. But to publicly say you're gonna interview her and then hire, of all people, Mike D'Antoni, like, you would have had a shot if it was a black dude. You just can't not hire her for a freaking straight white Italian. You got to be out of your mind. And to answer the question about D'Antoni with Portland, all it's going to do is make their scores even higher than they already are, and just expose their flaws even more than already exposed. So that's
crazy.
But
it's crazy. It's like going from it'd be like going from cocaine to crack. It is just absolutely insane. Brother Ray, your thoughts on the Portland coaching search?
I think it's going to be based on how do we keep Lillard. Like, what is going to be the move that is going to make him want to stay? I mean, that's a big reason why they're doing things the way they're doing them right now, is because they have to keep that player. They do not want to lose him. So who does he want to see as the next coach? That, I think, is what's going to dictate what they do.
Okay, and I think
you're going to.
We're back in the world of the flagrant two, Kev. The same world that created that flagrant two, that shouldn't have been, is going to create this. Now, look, why would you put D'Antoni? He's horrible. He's a horrible coach. I didn't like him at all. He's just not a good coach. So it's like, do we hire a coach that's just proven to be a mediocre, lame, like, white coach? Or, do we hire somebody that's going to be moody 6 days a month? Like, I don't see them going with I see them having to go with somebody like D'Antoni, Kev, because it's like, what else are they gonna do? They can't hire Hammond. I can't see Dame taking anything from Hammond. I can't see her turning to Dame and saying anything, and that's gonna change.
You know what just dawned on me? You know what just dawned on me that I hadn't really thought about till now when it comes to Hammond? Like, it's not uncommon for players and coaches to yell back and forth at each other behind closed doors.
Yep.
Like, I had a couple of hotheads in my time out in Woonsocket, and we had the best relationship. But if you were standing on the outside of the door, you would have thought we were coming to blows. But it's not. It's just the way it is sometimes in a locker room. What happens when it's one of these 6'8" dudes screaming down on her? How is that going to look? And how is that going to play out when someone yells back at her during a timeout? Because that shit happens. And there's nothing you can really do about it. And it's just part of the game, yes. But are guys going to walk around on pins and needles?
Yep.
Because yelling back to the coach is going to be now take on a life of its own, where, like, you're trying to bully this young lady. Like, there's a lot of difference if you and I argue with each other. Me and my wife argue with each other about the same thing at the same volume, and it looks a lot worse. Yep. In that situation. Now you're going to put that on national television, and there's going to be some guys that are like, whoa, I'm not messing with that. Like, I know. Like, Jay Crowder come back at people. Like, Jay Crowder might be like, wait a minute. I'm not dealing with that. Like, I'm not going to put myself in that spot because I know I'm a hothead. I wonder. Kevin Garnett, can you picture Kevin Garnett yelling at Doc Rivers and then yelling at Becky Hammon? Kevin Garnett, how bad will that look?
You're 100% right, because look, basketball players still talk to each other with obscenities, all kinds of shit. There's always like that, like, I don't want to say it's it's definitely not an anti-gay thing, but there's always like homophobic slurs thrown out. There's like weird stuff happens in games when guys get heated at each other.
Yeah, machismo thing.
Yeah, that goes on with her. You don't want that. You don't want to get
How many times on a basketball court you call someone a bitch? How many times do you think the word bitch is said in an NBA game? Hundreds.
All the time. They do.
Well, look, she's obviously heard that before. She's an assistant coach, so I don't think that's going to be the problem. But I think the back and forth. I think that like her screaming at like she's in Portland, her screaming at looking up at somebody that's like 6'10" in a shouting match, and it's going to be she's treated poorly. They're going to have to do a really good job of somehow explaining that this stuff happens all the time.
It's
and
more
has
than
nothing
that.
to do.
Kev, look, picture like Dan getting into an argument with somebody. He's come back to the huddle and he's like, "Stupid bitch, I'll get out there and kick the bitch ass," right? And she's like, "Calm down, Dame." He's like, "He's a dumb bitch." I'm like, that's weird. I'm just letting you guys know that it's gonna get weird, and it's gonna be a field day for people to get YouTube clips or catch anything like that going on. And you can spin that to be something where she quits halfway through the season because of all the shit they said. Go to the cameras, you hear them saying all this stuff because that's how they talk. Next thing you know, bing, bang, boom.
Or the player gets punished for behaving the way he's always behaved and the way that players behave. Yep. Now it's going to be like that player is a bad guy.
And my worry is that she is going to overreact. In fact, she's going to try and be harder than she normally is because she's going to try and show everybody, hey, I can take this stuff. I'm tougher. Yep. I'm just as tough as a male coach. And then now she's not going to be herself. That's my biggest worry because if she's not herself, she's not going to do her best job.
Yeah. I would bet her first speech is probably laden with expletives like F this, F that, just to show that she is tough and she can handle it and the language isn't going to bother her. And then, then you're out of your comfort zone and, not being who you are.
Wait a minute, though. Let's keep in mind, she is a woman. I want to make sure we're on that path.
My finger's on the remove button. I'm ready to go.
Listen, no, I'm not.
Remember that show where they used to flip the guy's chair back on MTV? Like if you said the wrong thing, they'd drop your chair back.
Yeah.
No, it's not remote control. It's I'm not confident in where we are as a society or as the players are as people, especially the younger kids coming into the league because they don't know what the world really is. These young kids don't know nothing from nothing. They're used to talking on a phone and spelling words wrong. They're gonna have a hard time with her. It's gonna be I'm not hiring her as my coach this year. I would wait a couple of years to see where this thing takes us. But right now, with everything going on, no way. There's no way I would attract that to my team. I'm just being honest. Someone's gonna be honest.
Oh yeah. I don't really disagree with anything you said. It's a rational kind of controlled take. I think the threat of the button had him rated in. Last time we had the FCC involved, right? You missed the whole thing. TJ and I both had to give depositions. It was it's been an ugly few days. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna wrap it up. We're actually over, and I know the Sixers are playing right now. Anybody got a score? What's going on?
Sixers up by 8.
Perfect. All right, so gentlemen, any final thoughts? We'll go clockwise. Coach TJ.
Sixers win tonight. Sixers win tonight. That's it. That's all I got. One game.
All right, brother Ray. Final thoughts?
I told you a couple weeks ago that they're going to straight out. They're winning straight out.
All right. King, any final thoughts?
Yeah. Again, if the Sixers have like a 10-point lead at halftime, stay with it. If not, this would be the one game that they could lose before they win the series. Secondly, 26th and 27th of June at Fort Defiance, Virginia, we will be there, the Genius and myself, for the 3rd annual Bigfoot Con in Fort Defiance, Virginia. So far, only one person has said that he wanted to come with us. That was Ron Dog. And Ron, if you're listening, I'm going to try everything in my power to make it so that you can't come because, oh, my God, I don't think I could deal with you for that many days. So if you end up getting like somehow sabotage, you don't end up making it, it's because of me. And I'm telling you right now, if you paid attention to the show, you would know I was about to do it. Can't come, Kev. He'll kill us. He'll kill us, Kev. He's like hiring that. It's just a bad idea.
All right, gentlemen. All right, I'll defer to you, King. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up here. Again, Philly minus 3.5. I'm on. Philly team total over 113.5. So I hope they're pouring the points in. Hope I can cash 2 bets tonight, and hopefully I can get out of South Philly alive and a little more cash in the pocket. Wrapping up legit fantasy basketball Monday, June 14th. Genius Kev, Coach TJ, Brother Ray, and King Michael. We'll talk to you again on Thursday with a little more insight to the rest of the playoffs.
One goat. That's all it took.